Hello everyone, welcome to this video. In this one, what we would like to do, we would like to configure a VNet to VNet gateway connection using Azure CLI. Now this, you can really do it from many multiple different ways. You can do it through Portal, Azure Shell, Azure CLI. Even you can go and use the Azure Portal Classic deployment model. Since I'm going to use the Azure CLI, what I have done, I have got the AZ environment available to me, and what I did, I really used a Docker container that comes built in with Azure CLI module, and I just spun up the Docker container. And if you know how to do that, you can just go to my channel and just search for the Docker container Azure CLI. You know how to do this. And I'm using a Ubuntu machines, and the Ubuntu machine is really running another Ubuntu container inside of it, and I have everything, and I have already connected by running az connect command, and I'm already connected to my resource, to my Azure account. Alright, so there are two different ways, there are multiple ways you can connect your virtual networks. I absolutely love the VNet peering. When the VNet peering happens, it does not apply any encryption, but all the traffic, it stays within your Azure backbone. It does not go to the internet. Now with VNet to VNet VPN gateway connection, your traffic also stays within the Azure environment, but it's encrypted using IPsec ICE encryption. It will create that encryption tunnel, and it's very similar to site-to-site connection. Okay, there are subtle differences, and you should read this page, and I'm going to give this document, this link inside my video as for you to review. Okay, so if you come down over here, okay, here they're saying you can do this connection using two virtual networks that are in the same subscription. Okay, so here is one subscription that's deployed in the East US, and one VNet, that is test VNet 1. Here's another VNet, test VNet 4, that is deployed in the West US. So you need to first create this virtual network, and by default virtual networks are the security boundary, right? The traffic cannot flow from here to there. And once you have that, you gotta create a VPN gateway. Okay, and so gateway subnet is what you need to create, and then you gotta deploy this VPN gateway to the gateway subnet. Same thing over here as well. Okay, you also need an IP address for this VPN gateway, and you also need another IP address for this VPN gateway. So once this is done, what you're gonna do, once all the deployment is done, you will make a connection object, and the connection, you're going to provide a shared key, and the shared key is going to be used for the encryption and decryption purposes, and you have to provide the exact same shared key to this virtual network gateway and to this virtual network gateway when you are creating those connections back and forth. This is something we are not going to do. So if you have a subscription that is in a different region or in a different subscription, okay, you can also use this feature, but we are not going to do this. Here they are saying again, before you install, you need to have the latest CLI, and as I said, I just have a Docker instance from Microsoft that I can spin up, and it just has everything that I need, so I'm not doing this step myself. Then this is something that you should be doing: plan your IP ranges. And for this lab, we're just going to take this and go with it. So here, really, we're going to create one resource group deployed in the East US, and we're going to have two different address space, 10.1100, 10.1200. We're going to put the front end at 10.1100/24, back end to 10.1200/24. Gateway subnet, we're going to assign 10.12 to 55.0.27, and look at this. Microsoft recommends that you use 27 or 28 CIDR for your subway gateway subnet configuration. We'll have some gateway name, This is a public IP that is named. We're going to use route based VPN connection, and the connection that we're going to create, we're going to call it VNet 1 to VNet 4 for this one. Similar to the first one, we have some configuration here. I have two different addresses: front end, back end, gateway subnet, a resource group, West US is the location, then gateway name, IP address. Again, I'm going to use route based, and here is the connection object. It's going to be the 4 to 1. So first, connect to the subscription. So run this command. So I have already done that. I'm already connected, so I don't need to do this step. So if you have more than one subscription, you can run this. I can still run this command in here, and I should only see one subscription because that's all I have, right? So it's only one JSON output, and it says this is the name of the subscription. That's all I have. So if I go back over here to my portal and look for subscription, okay, that's subscriptions. Okay, it should only show me one subscription listed, and see it's only one. Okay, and if you click on here, you see everything is selected. So if I have multiple subscriptions, they would show up in here. So we know that this thing is working properly. Now specify the subscription that you want to use. You can do this. Since I have only one subscription, I really don't need to do this step at all. Now create and configure VNet 1. So this is the first thing that you need to do. It's a very simple command: az group create, and then name /n is this resource group test rg1, and then AL is for location is East US. So copy this command, come back over here, paste this, and then run it. And it should take like 5 seconds maybe, and you got this. And always look at this provisioning state and make sure that it is successful. Okay, so at this time, if I go to my portal back and look for resource group, I should be seeing a resource group named test rg1. Okay, so let's go to the next one, and inside this one, now we're going to create this virtual network, right? Again, be familiar with these commands, and we're going to review it a little bit here. So AZ, again, Azure network virtual network create, and then what is the name /n? It's test network 1. Which resource group? That's G for test rg1, which we created in this command. And alright, then address prefix, it's coming. We are using two different address prefix. It's a 10.11.0016. Location is East US. Subnet name front end, and subnet prefix is 10.11.0024. Here looks like we have only used one address prefix, and we are creating the front end and front end subnet prefix. So that's all we are doing. Okay, so let's hit enter, see what happens. Again, creating virtual network doesn't take too long, so it should not take very much at all. Okay, so that's also done, and again, provisioning state is successful, right? So what we at this time, what we want to do, we can go back to our Azure portal, and let's look at the resource group and see what we have done so far. So this is the resource group that we have created, and in this resource group, if you refresh couple times, here is the test VNet 1 that got created. So if we go to our subnets, I would think there is only one, as I said, and this is the address space that we created using the command that we just ran. Okay, so I want you guys to understand the command and kind of follow what is going on. Okay, so let's come back over here. Here what they're going to do, create additional address space. So that's what I suspected. Here they're only creating one. So let's copy the next command, come back to your command line window, let's paste this command, and look at that. Here you are running an update command to this particular VNet 1 that you created in the previous state, and then you are adding the address prefix 10.11.0016, 10.12.0016, and what resource group is the test rg1. That's what you're doing. So let's hit enter and see if it does exactly that. Alright, I think this is also successful, and at this time let's go back to the Azure portal again, and let's refresh this page So what this has done, you gotta probably have to replace it few more times, or a couple times, or actually it just added the address space. So let's come back over here. So sometimes it takes just a little bit of time to update, so if it does not show up immediately, just give it a minute. Okay, so let's come back over here, come back to our address space. Now you see now we have two different address space in here available to us. Let's see if we have created any subnet. No, we did not create any subnet. So in the last command that we ran, okay, it's only added address space or address prefix. Okay, we didn't add any subnet yet. So you bet what's going to happen next. We're going to add a couple more subnets. So let's come back over here. Now create the backend subnet. Look at that. So copy this one and come back over here, paste the comment, and this one is the network VNet subnet create. Okay, you're creating a virtual network subnet. What is the name of the virtual network? It's the test VNet 1, and -n for name. We're gonna call it the backend. G is the resource group test RG1. Here's the address prefix for the virtual network, and we're gonna use 10.12.00/24. Hit enter, and again it should take just a second. Next we're gonna definitely create the gateway subnet, and the gateway subnet name must be gateway subnet. Okay, you cannot use anything else. Copy that one and paste that one, exactly same command, just a different address prefix this time. So just hit enter, and again it should take just a minute to get it done. And finally, when we have everything, we need to get a public IP address that will be dynamically allocated. Okay, this cannot be a static IP address. Okay, and you just copy this one and you run this particular command, and what you're doing again is in network public IP create network. It's the name of the IP is VNet 1 GWIP. Group, same resource group. Allocation method is dynamic. Okay, so hit enter. Again it will take probably 3 seconds to create that public IP or a dynamic public IP address. So it's done. So again the provisioning state is successful. So let's go back and review our Azure portal. So if I refresh this, what I expect to see is a backend subnet and a gateway subnet. So let's just do that, and they showed up. And what happened, look at that here, this button right here, gateway subnet, that got grayed out. So you cannot create any more gateway subnet. You can only have one gateway subnet within a virtual network, and that's it. Okay, so keep that in mind. So I think everything is working just fine. If you go back to overview, go to the resource group. So what you have now, you have the virtual network, and it's all configured properly, and you got the IP address as well that we can use for the virtual network gateway that we're going to deploy next. So let's come back over here, and to deploy the virtual network gateway, again the command is pretty similar and simple to read. AZ network VNet gateway create. Okay, so we're going to create a virtual network gateway, and again what is the name /n VNet gateway, what is the location for L East US, public IP address, what public IP address to use, VNet 1 gateway IP, what is the resource group, test RG1, what is the virtual network, test VNet 1, gateway type, we're going to use the VPN type, and you could also use express route, but for this particular exercise we're using VPN. SKU, we are choosing VPN GW1, and you should do a research on what other SKU types we can have. VPN type, we're going to use route based, and there are other types that you can use like policy based. Again, do some on your own research. And nowait means if I run this command, it's going to give me the command prompt back, and it's going to run this command in the background. So let's hit enter, and I should get the bash command back, and it's with me now. Now the reason we are using nowait, this deployment usually takes about 40 to 45 minutes or even more sometimes. so that you are not waiting on anything, and you can start the deployment of the other virtual network and start that setup while this is going on. So if I come back to here to my Azure portal, if I refresh this particular resource group, I expect to see a gateway, virtual network gateway, to show up. So let's just do that. So refresh and look at that. Isn't it magic? So the virtual network gateway is here, and if I click on it, you will see that it will say the status as updating. Okay, it will have a big warning button at the top, and there we go. It says updating. That means this virtual network gateway deployment is in progress. It's not done yet. The other thing you can quickly check is the connection, and there is no connection whatsoever right now. And we are going to go and come back and do the configuration of the connection to make sure this virtual network can talk to the other virtual network. Okay, so at this time, let's go back and start deploying the other virtual network in the West US location. Again, the commands are exactly the same, so I'm going to spend less time here. So this command is just going to create the resource group called test rg4, and once that's done, we're going to create the virtual network. Okay, so we're going to run this command, and it's going to create again the one address space and one subnet front end and the front end address prefix. And then what we're going to do, we are going to create the additional subnets, and looks like this one is for the backend subnet. So let's create that one. Again, it should take a second or so, a few seconds. So once that's done, what we would do, we would create the gateway subnet next. Okay, so let's just do that, and that's going to create our gateway subnet, and it's going to have 10.42.255.0/27 IP address space. Once that done, gateway subnet is done, we're going to request for an IP address to be associated with this. It has to be dynamic, and it's right there. It says it's dynamic. And once I have this, I want to create the test VNet 4 virtual network gateway by running this command. So what we'll do, come here, paste it, and again know it, and that should start the deployment of this particular virtual network gateway. So let's come back to Azure one more time. Okay, Azure portal, go to the resource group. You should see a test rg4 should be created by now. Let's go there, and you don't see it here, right? Test rg1 or rg4. So let's do a refresh, and there we go. See, another magic, it showed up. If you go in there, what do you think that you're gonna see? I think you're gonna see a virtual network, you're gonna see a IP address, and you will also see a virtual network gateway. So let's click on that one, and all three are there. See, I'm a magician. So if I click on this one, it should say it's updating, right? Again, we just deployed, and now we need to wait for about 40 minutes for this deployment to be completely successful. So it's about 12:15. So let's come back around 1, and we'll complete the lab at the time. So what we would do, we would make a connection, and we'll wait. Once you make the connection back and forth, you still have to wait for about 5 minutes or so for the connection to be completely established, and the status here should show up as connected. And at that time, we'll stop the video, and then we would do a follow-up video where we're going to deploy a couple of virtual machines in those virtual networks and make sure they can talk to each other. So just pause the video, and we'll continue in a few seconds. Alright everyone, we are back. It's been a while. What I'm seeing right now, it's about 40 minutes or so. What I'm seeing, if I come to the VNet GW1, I don't see the warning message anymore, which is a good sign. And if you go back to home and go to the other virtual network gateway, I don't see the warning message either. So I think both of the deployment are now done. So now we need to create the connection objects, and you can do it from the portal as well, but since we are using the CLI, so let's get the command over here, get the resource ID of the VNet. So let's just run this command. I hope that I'm still connected over here. So let's run this command. Is a network VNet gateway show name VNet gateway and test RG1. So hit enter. It should show us the properties of this particular virtual network, and it does. What it's telling us in the output, find the ID line values within quotes are needed to create the connection. Okay, so ID line is something like this. Okay, so copy the values of the ID lines within the code. So let's copy. So come back over here, and we are looking for the ID. So let's come back over here. Usually ID should be somewhere here. Okay, so ID. So this is what we need. So copy, you can copy the whole thing right now and paste it back over here. Okay, so that's my ID. Come back over here, go back over here, get the resource ID and copy the values in a text editor. I need to get the resource ID as well. Okay, so let's copy this and run this command. Okay, so okay, from this command let's look for the ID again. Let's see what is, if there's a difference. There is. So the first one, it was for the resource group 1, and this is the ID for the resource group 4. So this is the IP address that is associated with it. Okay, and this is the virtual network gateway gateway ID. Okay, we have got two different IDs, and just so pay attention to this. Okay, so one more time, resource ID of VNet 1 gateway. Okay, so let's put that over here just to make it clear. So the first one is this. Okay, and the next, with that resource ID, we're going to type back our copy, copy. We need to pay some more attention. That's not the right ID. That's not the right ID. Let's rerun this command one more time, because that's going to give us, that was giving us the IP address. We really need the ID for the network. So let's come back over here. I think this is the one. Okay, gateway type VPN. So this is the one that we want. Alright, glad that we looked at this one. So pasted that one. Now if you see, okay, so it should all be good up to that. Okay, which command they run? That is for RG4. We must have picked up something different. Let's come back over here. This is the command that we ran, so let's go get that one. Hopefully that's the right one. Yeah, finally. Sorry, it took us a little bit of time to get to that, but now if you see, this ID refers to this particular gateway, this ID refers to the other gateway. Okay, we need both of them, and let's go back and verify that's what it is. Okay, yeah, so we got both of them. And now what we need the VPN connection object, and now it's pretty easy to create this one. Now click that one, and let's review our command. And here, so we need to replace this is for the first one. We're gonna replace this with this, right? So we're gonna replace this with that one, and we're going to replace the other one with this ID, which is start with subscription, show this. So now it should be ready. So let's try out this command over here, and Control U to get rid of the command. Here is, let's hit enter, and it should be creating a connection object from RG1 to RG4. Let's see if it's, and here is the key, right, that we are using. The name of the connection is VNet1 to VNet4. See, so now if I come back over here, that actually shows up in both places. So now if I click on connections, in a minute or so you should see a connection object that's going to show up, and it should say VNet1 to VNet4. Okay. Just keep refreshing just a little. Go back to connection. It's still not. We have a error in there, and it says reference ID. Reference ID is not formatted correctly, and I see the problem here. I have two different backslashes. So come back over here, so go over there and fix it. There we go. So here we need to get rid of one of the backslashes and then hit enter again. So this time hopefully it's formatted properly and I don't have any more problem. Let's wait for a second. While it's running again, you can come back here and try to refresh it a couple more times. Come back, still running. Let's keep it. There we go. So so one object one connection object is now created. The status is updated, and that's what I expect. And you will see that this if you go back to even this under this network and go to this particular virtual network gateway, you should see this connection as well, and it's there, and status with updating. So let's create the other way connection. Let's go back and copy this one, and again what I'm going to do, come back over here, paste it back again. This time we have to do the 4, so this goes first, so let's get that one, and let's get to this, paste it, and this is 4 to 1, so 4 goes first and then the 1 goes next. So get that, paste it over here. So hopefully our formatting is correct. So we'll copy this one, and what we're gonna do, we're gonna come back over here, paste it over here and hit enter. And if you notice, we're using the same shared secret key for this connection as well. So what I would expect to see one more connection to show up in here, and it did. Now it says that it's updating. It takes about 5 minutes or so for the connection to be established properly, and once it does, it will say that yeah, now you have a successful connection, and it says connected. Okay, once it does, we will end the lab. And so we have gone over a lot of things. So I would make sure that you know how to do this using Portal, using PowerShell, using CLI. Do this exercise, and I'm going to create another video where I'm going to deploy 2 virtual machines, one in the VNet 1, another in VNet 4, and then I will validate that they have the connection and they can talk to each other. Alright, So let's wait for another 5 minutes or so, and then we'll end the video, and I'll show you the status will change to connected once the connection is successful. Alright everyone, it's been probably 3 or 4 minutes and I just refreshed it and it now says connected, and that's pretty much it, all we needed to do for this particular lab. Again, I'm going to give you this link and you can go through it, read some more, and especially I would recommend definitely read this VNet to VNet FAQ. There is some really good question when to use it, and how Azure charges traffic between VNets, like the VNet to VNet traffic within the same region is free for both directions when you use a VPN gateway connection. Okay, but the cross region is charged with the outbound inner VNet data. There's lots of good stuff here. Another important question that's pretty obvious: can there be overlapping address spaces among connection and among connected virtual network and on-premises local sites? And the answer is no. You cannot use the same address space in 2 different virtual network. Just not possible. Okay, so read through it and be comfortable. And as I said, in the next video, I'm going to deploy a couple virtual machines in those 2 virtual networks that we created and which are connected, and we're going to test the connection. Okay. With this, if you like the video, please subscribe, give me your comments, and if you're studying for any certification, good luck. Thank you.